Nick Carboni from WCNC joins the show to discuss Terry's best shooting night of the season and LaMelo filling up the stat sheet once again. It's all coming up today on Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
Welcome to Locked On Hornets. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, so you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get them. You get the deal by now. You can follow me on Twitter at Walker Mail. You can follow Doug on Twitter at Doug Branson LOH, and you can follow our guest Nick Carboni on Twitter at Nick Carboni WCNC. Nick, thanks so much for hopping on with us once again. How are you doing?
Absolutely, guys, and just for quick, fan purposes, not a Cubs hat, Charlotte Hornets baseball hat. Just want to get that out there.
So Charlotte Hornets baseball, I thought you misspoke when you said this before we actually started recording. So you actually have a baseball history lesson for us with this hat?
I know. I should have come better prepared with the actual history of it. But yeah, like 50s and 60s, the minor league ball club in Charlotte was the Charlotte Hornets. Then they came back, Knights, all that stuff.
Sure. Were they mentioning
Hornets Nest, not just to specific to the NBA?
Okay, so I didn't realize that we had some baseball connections there. Did Ken Burns talk about them in his documentary?
I don't think he dug that deep.
It's unfortunate.
I don't think he did.
Yeah,
but there was also a great Negro Leagues team in Charlotte, the Charlotte Black Hornets, who kind of barnstormed around North Carolina. So there's a little bit more history behind the Hornets name.
Come on, Ken. Give Carolina more coverage when it comes to your baseball documentaries. I feel like we just decredited all of that now. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Hornets. Nick Carboni joining us to talk about another win for the Hornets last night against Washington. They win 109-103. It's the second time they beat the Wizards. It's only the second time the Wiz have lost at home this season. And we had a couple of breakout stars, LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier. Speaking of breakout, this was really the time that Terry was able to come back and have his best shooting night. Goes 8 of 11 from the perimeter. He had not shot the ball well at all this season from distance, which is what he's been known for. It's what he was most lethal at the last couple of years for Charlotte. Finally, we get to see that last night. 32 points total for Terry. Has a big-time three late. Doug's going to join us a little more so in the second segment. He'll pound his chest because basically he's going to say that he called Terry coming back again, but if you say he's going to come back every night, then you're bound to hit. It doesn't matter. Doug is still going to pound his chest and say that he got it right. And I guess technically he did. Let's go with LaMelo first before we get to Terry, though, here, Nick, because you and I were discussing before we were recording just how insane the stat lines have been for LaMelo, and even specifically the rebounding. Good Melo game last night, 28 points, the second leading scorer for the Hornets last night, 13 rebounds and 7 assists. So it's 3 games in a row that Melo has posted a double-digit rebound outcome. And there's only been 2 games this season, Nick, where he's posted below 5 boards in a single contest. He's putting up stats all over the place where he is kind of giving you the Russell Westbrook, James Harden type production, flirting with the triple-double every single night. And it's the rebounding that is probably most surprising about that.
Yeah, and could he be, more efficient than a Westbrook, with the shooting? That's something you brought up, but the rebounding was clearly an emphasis for LaMelo coming into this year. He's going to go after those 50-50 balls, and you saw in the win last night at Washington, I don't think he gets credit for the rebound, but maybe a steal, poking the ball loose from Montrezl Harrell on that final, basically what would become the final play of the game, popping it up in the air and Cody Martin coming down with it. But yeah, I mean, it's like you look in the third quarter every single night at the box sheet and you're like, oh, he's almost there. He's almost there. And the rebounding, 17 one night, 13 last night. He's increased his average by 2 or 3 rebounds per game. So clearly he's gone out there and tried to be more aggressive. And obviously that plays into their fast break game too, if he can get his hands on it and get it up the floor quickly. So it's great for them. It's just something that was like, you're in love with the scoring, you're in love with the flash and the kind of dazzle that he puts out there on the floor in the passing, but all of a sudden he's becoming excellent rebounding guard.
Well, it's funny because you've seen LaMelo a couple of times. Like it feels like maybe once every other game, but pretty frequently he'll get a rebound and then give you the baseball pass because Miles Bridges or whatever player has leaked already into the backcourt in order to get just an easy transition bucket. And so LaMelo constantly looking up immediately upon touching the basketball. It really does help, to your point, when LaMelo gets those rebounds. And so we discuss him in the likes of a Russell or a James Harden. James is an entirely different animal just because of the offense that he's been able to just be by himself. A little bit different in Brooklyn now. I know the foul calls have been changed, and that's kind of hurt his game, certainly in the early going. But when we discuss the guys that are over 7 in all of those categories, LeBron kind of like that, but LeBron clearly a different animal too. LaMelo shooting the ball at 38% from deep has to finish at the rim better. It's something he struggled a little bit with coming into the league, and now that's kind of shown itself here in his second season. I think it will get better. He's got the frame for it. The floaters are there. You just have to see him continue to get stronger, hopefully figure out ways to finish better at the basket. But the more efficient, can we get to a 45% from the field, 37% from 3, even if he's at 38 now? I don't mind if he even takes a couple of those off just because the volume is so good. The shooting percentage is still good, and then he's still flirting with the triple-double. That is an all-pro player right now. You know, I mean, popularity is already going to help him maybe get into the All-Star game this season, but once you start to have better shooting percentages inside the three-point arc, that's all-pro player right now as far as the numbers he's putting up along with other guys in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, he's shooting 90% from the stripe. I mean, he's been at the free throw line less at a lower rate than he was for the totality of last year. So he's definitely. I mean, he was drafted only like a year and a week ago because they had the draft in November of 2020. And if you fast forwarded to now that night and said like, oh yeah, he's just got to like tick up his 2-point finishes, but the 3-point shots there, the rebounding is sky high. Like, man, you know, we have a special player here, and I don't have any doubt that he can improve those numbers and do the things that you're talking about because he obviously works hard at everything he's doing out on the floor, and it's showing consistently. You know, this guy is not an anomaly. He is, you know, and I think it's maybe hard for some Hornets fans to like, and they love him, but like believe like, okay, like we have this guy, like we have a star here and a potential superstar, but you know, he's definitely rounding into form a heck of a lot earlier than any of us who even thought that he should have been the pick thought would be possible this early.
Yeah, I mean, it's the player you've always wanted. It's the guy that has top 5 possibility. You know, that's in his range. It doesn't mean he's going to reach top 5, but it's okay to have top 10. Yeah, I'll take that too. As a Charlotte Hornet fan, he just fills the box score, and if he does so with nice, efficient numbers, it's really going to be tough to stop what LaMelo can do. Even 3 steals last night, didn't even mention that part. I mean, we know his anticipation on defense as long as he continues to get better in that category too. He's a special player right now, and the ceiling, I don't even know what it is for him because it's been so fun to watch him play in his young career. All right, we'll save a lot of the Terry stuff for the next segment so Doug can gloat, but we do need to mention Shopify first. In case you don't know, Shopify is a complete commerce platform that lets you start, grow, and manage a business. The subscription-based software allows anyone to set up an online store and sell their products, and Shopify store owners can also sell in physical locations using Shopify POS, our point-of-sale app, and an accompanying hardware. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility, and Shopify helps you make your entrepreneurial dreams come true. We'll take a quick break and come back to talk about Terry Rozier and his coming out party. Again, let's discuss it next. Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
If you do go to the game, here's a tip. The numbers on the seats, they have significance. They mean something. So if you're looking for seat 20, if you're looking for seat 21 and you see seat 3, go the other way.
David Narc Walker here.
Yeah.
Hey, listen.
Pointing him out to security. I paid for this seat, sir.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Nick, are you happy that your dog, by the way, got a feature in a bump as we keep doing these podcasts?
I didn't notice that. Yeah, he's being quiet over here right now. He's just laying down. But once that delivery person shows up, if there is one, he's going to be all over it, guys. So.
He's going to give us the Mitch Kupchak commentary again. Yeah, we featured Ollie in these bumps that we've had quite a bit, to be honest. It's one of our favorites.
Okay.
We keep going to him. So
that's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Well, thank you guys.
We're going to have to go back to him for his takes on the Hornets season.
You know, there might be an NIL deal in it for him. I mean, that's going to perk his floppy ears right up.
You know, that's selfish. If Ollie wants to play hardball, that's fine. You know, I thought he was doing it for the love of the game, but whatever. You know, if he's going to ask for tennis balls and Kongs and whatever, then I think that just might be a deal breaker. Instead, we'll talk about Terry Rozier. I mean, Doug, do you want the floor? Like, do you just want to try to pound your chest on this because you said he was going to come out and have an excellent game despite you saying that a few times already this year?
Well, there were some people on Twitter. So I posted on Twitter from the Locked On Hornets account wanting to know who everyone has as their Thanksgiving Sixth Man of the Year. And someone wanted to get in the replies and say that I need to apologize for doubting Terry Rozier. I don't know where people got off that I was doubting Terry Rozier.
Did they mean me?
Saying... Maybe. I was saying they need to stick with Terry Rozier despite the shooting struggles, and I said that it was time to welcome him back because he plays well against the Washington Wizards, and we've been used to second half Terry Rozier, Nick, but in last night's game, we got first half Terry Rozier, 11 points in the first quarter, 3 of 3 from 3 in that first quarter, and he didn't stop hitting three-pointers, 8, including the dagger. We're finally seeing a Terry Rozier who can hit outside shots, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, I mean, Terry Rozier is a prideful enough guy to know that he needed to get his three-point percentage into the 30s, so he decided he would just knock that out in one night in Washington against a team he knew he could do it against, put it up with 10 or 11 times and hit 8 of them, including the dagger. So, yeah, I mean, his numbers have been down from, I mean, you look at his just entire career across the board. You thought he would climb back into that eventually. Maybe it was the ankle that slowed him down, certainly at the beginning. And then, you know, Miles Bridges has basically become the number 2 option for the team over the first month and a half of the season. So, you know, maybe not as many chances for Terry to break out of that slump. But, you know, he's still somebody that even if he was, you know, 1 for 7 from 3 last night, you still give it to him in that moment with 15 seconds left and think that he can hit that shot, and he did.
Yeah, Terry was excellent last night. By far the best shooting night of the season for him because he had struggled so much. You mentioned him just getting into the 30s, decided to do it in one night, but it had been because he had been so bad. Even in his good shooting nights where it was about 50 from the field, it was not because of his production from the perimeter. So thank goodness Terry's able to get going because that's what makes him the most effective basketball player for the Charlotte Hornets team.
Absolutely.
And it's why he got basically close to $25 million a year. Here's another trend I want to discuss with the Hornets too, though. Like we've discussed the Hornets being a balanced scoring team. Mm-hmm. It's really helped them. You know, like you see Miles Bridges not scoring a lot last night. 6 points for Miles, 3 of 13, didn't hit any of the three-pointers that he took. But then Terry steps up, LaMelo steps up, and even a Gordon Hayward scored 16, missed quite a bit of shots from the field too. We know that the Hornets have been navigating a lot through Terry's struggles this season. Gordon, lately, has not been giving you the 20-point performances that are quiet. In fact, it's been a little less steady than that. So then you have to rely on LaMelo in an Indiana game to get you 30. Miles has been that guy where, you know, maybe he's even been the first option a lot of the times this season. Yeah. You'd like to, and even where nothing's going from the bench, you know, Kelly will provide you some scoring every once in a while. Didn't really happen last night, only 7 from Kelly in 22 minutes of play. It's nice to see the Hornets can rely on somebody else if one of your other primary scorers just doesn't have it that night.
Yeah, I mean, and it was surprising Kelly Oubre had 7 points last night because he comes off of these unbelievably, you know, scintillating performances off the bench, and he's blowing kisses at the end of the game, and then he kind of just like quietly, you know, scratches 7 points out. But yeah, I think that you know, Gordon Hayward has kind of been up and down, obviously in the scoring department, does a lot of other things well. It's just helped so much that Miles Bridges has exploded out of the gate this year. And he's been one of their best and most consistent scorers. He has 6 points last night and hits a huge hook shot to put him up 9 points. So yeah, I mean, they're going to need, you know, 3 or 4 of these guys to just be available to put up points on any given night, because that's what they need to do. I mean, against some of these teams that they're just not going to out talent, they're going to need to spread it around and be able to have guys consistently provide points and offense.
That's just it, Nick. Until this team gets a bona fide sixth man type scorer off the bench, which they really don't have. Oubre's been a little inconsistent, and Cody Martin is the guy you bring off the bench for the defensive energy and to knock down a couple of shots and hopefully, make us wide open layups.
That was rough.
Took away some of the good feelings we had when we saw that one.
Yeah. And or LaMelo turns into the kind of scorer that can literally lift your entire team on his back, single-handedly. He's not quite there yet. So in order to take, and they've played a lot of good teams lately, so in order to take down some of these good teams in the East, they can't just have one sting. They've got to have multiple stings. That's what I'm looking for, multiple stings. I want the Hornets stanging every night, 2-3 scores that they can rely on, and that's why it's so important for Terry, because they need to stang.
I think that's James Borrego's 5th pillar.
Stanging.
Yeah.
It would be a little easier to listen to 17 times. To be fair to Borrego, it went away after that first or second year where he said, hey, we're going to, I remember the media luncheon. I forget where it was.
Oh, that was at Ruth's Chris.
Is that right? I thought it was at Ruth's Chris.
$1.
Yeah.
Wow.
In that luncheon, he said, if we're going to have a good season, Dwayne Bacon is going to be a big part of it. Ended up not happening there. And he also said we're going to have to follow the 4 pillars, right? Yeah, so 4 pillars. I think I had about 17 pages of notes with that.
Wait a minute.
I'd be surprised if that team was able to clinch 2 of the pillars. That was a tough time.
To be fair to Borrego, you were at a Ruth's Chris, so maybe he was just hungry, and then just bacon fell out of his mouth. He was like, bacon.
Dwayne, we'll just go with that. Dwayne Bacon is going to be a big part.
I mean, listen, that was his foundational season, and that's what he was trying to lay down. He's a very obviously process-oriented coach, and here he is in year 4, and some of that is being layered upon, and then Miles Bridges is becoming an all-star, so that helps.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, it's a decent base. And plus, with the Dwayne Bacon stuff, you will hear those takes on this podcast from around that time. I thought Dwayne Bacon was going to have to be a big part, and it didn't happen. So either way, we'll focus on the players here right now with the Charlotte Hornets. Real quickly, before we get you out of here, Nick, I do want to talk about just our overall feelings with this team now, because it's been a roller coaster type season. But here they are having won 6 of their last 7, winning 5 in a row after losing to the Hawks. But me and Doug kind of talked about that yesterday, contemplating whether that was a scheduled loss, losing to a good team on the road, second night of a back-to-back. My question is, here they are, 3 games above 500. It's a decent sample size. It's not great. It's a decent one. Are we okay to say this is a pretty good team? Is it too soon to say that, or are we okay?
For real?
Yeah, are they for real? For real or fraud? Let's go to a good old classic sports radio game. I know you like classic sports radio, Nick.
Ollie's going to jump into this one. This is good sports radio.
Are they for real or fraud?
I think they're for real, but I think the expectation is still to kind of have ups and downs, lulls where because the defense has been really good. For this Hornets team in this run where they've won 6 of 7, that is something that I don't expect it to be there 82 nights in a season for this team. I just don't think they're that team. I think they've played solid defense for them recently, but I don't. I see that having some lulls, and then obviously the big man position, unless they go out and shop that, holding them back on certain nights and in certain stretches. But I think they'll be a team that playing I think they're past. I think they're better than that. I think they'll be in above that as long as they have these good stretches where they do play good defense and do show up in the clutch, which they're fully capable of doing. But I think there'll be some stretches where they're just not there.
I totally agree. I think they're for real. and how they're playing now. But if you look at how short the rotation, how many minutes some of these guards and forwards are playing right now, and I just wonder how sustainable it is without making some changes to the roster to get them some rim protection help. How sustainable is this defensive effort that they have to put up night in and night out? Before we go, Walker, do we have time for some of these Thanksgiving questions? Because I'm really
Let's roll with
I want to get Nick's opinion on this. So we're doing Thanksgiving Sixth Man of the Year this year. So what we're looking for, Nick, is the food item on your Thanksgiving table that is underappreciated but comes off the bench and really just knocks everyone out. Huge flavor punch off the bench, but maybe is not your traditional, turkey, ham, potatoes. What's that dish on your table?
Yeah, it's a tough question because we are looking for something unique. Mashed potatoes, everybody's going to go with that as their side. Even a mac and cheese has become very popular. So what is the unique side dish that comes in as the sixth dish of the year on your Thanksgiving table?
It doesn't have to be super unique. I'm not looking for like jelly beans or something. It doesn't. No. That's like a 13th man.
That's not even unique. That's just not real. Like that's a fraud.
You guys don't have jelly beans? It's a great side. Root beer jelly beans.
Man,
can't wait.
I would say
like on the table.
Like some people love that like homemade fancy cranberry sauce. Just give me that jarred cranberry sauce, like out of the aluminum can. I know that's like somewhat traditional still. I'm trying, man. I wish I could think of something like that.
No, I think that's the type of
kind of thing. But
I think that's the type that comes off the bench. That's a little bit of a Cody Martin. That's a defensive presence off the bench. It's physical. It's big. It's stocky coming out of that. And when it comes out of the can, it always makes that noise like.
Yeah,
like it always,
Cody does that. I think that's what Cody does.
Every time he checks in.
The more it's still shaped like the can, the better. Like it's got the lines imprinted on the side of it. Like. Give me that cranberry sauce.
Forget hourglass. I want straight out of the can.
I almost want to see the paper print on the can within the cranberry sauce as well. You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting from Cody Martin, and you know what you're getting from that store-bought cranberry sauce.
Cranberries.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent answer.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Tough question.
Thick cranberries.
But I think that was a good answer. So,
by the way, turkey could kind of be like a DNP CD for me sometimes.
Wow,
Nick, no, God,
it's okay.
Wow. You're like
all the
Thibodeau or
stuffing and the
Carlisle.
mashed potatoes and the gravy, like just right into it.
You're a Thanksgiving Tibbs, man. You're benching the starters.
Why are you doing that? No. If he was Thibodeau, then he'd be playing turkey the entire game without any rest and then having a practice.
Just dry turkey, just no gravy on it.
Oh, yeah, you need to put gravy on it too. I'm a brown gravy on the turkey kind of guy too, just to give it that extra.
You guys are
absolutely. I'll smother it in gravy just to eat it, but it's all right.
Are you Thanksgiving mixers or fixers? Do you like mixing the food together, or you just fix your plate just so keeping all of the food separate?
First plate, everything has its spot, and then after that, all bets are off.
Whoa.
Put it in a bowl if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think for me,
I think scramble.
It's different. It's different lineups that I go with. So mashed potatoes, turkey, brown gravy, they can all mix together. But I don't want my mac and cheese touching the brown gravy, so that's got to go to the side. Like I'm not playing. That's almost like a Mason Plumlee and Nick Richards. You might not be playing them at all. But if you are going to play them, Mason Plumlee not going to be playing alongside those guys. You're not going to be playing mac and cheese next to brown gravy or anything like that. So I think you have your different lineups that are okay to touch. But other than that, everything needs its separate spot. So. Awful answer with the turkey, Nick, but also really good answer with cranberry sauce. So I'm glad at least you set a foundation for you to fall rather than just falling immediately upon answering that question. Okay. We appreciate your time nonetheless. Let's hear some commentary from Ollie next time. We want his takes on this cup check.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was done. He was probably disgusted with your turkey take. Yeah. He wanted to hear it. He wanted to eat more turkey.
He loves turkey.
Always appreciate the time, man. Thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
I do want to discuss real quickly True Bill with everyone. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill instead to take control of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year. That's ridiculous when they get Truebill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. Truebill has over 2 million users and helped save them over $100 million. That's absolutely ridiculous. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. I also want to discuss RockAuto.com. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning? You don't need to do that anymore. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. And you can go to Rock Auto because it's a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and their prices are reliably low for every single customer. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. They have an amazing selection. They have reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com. All right, we'll get into some of the fun stuff coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
Assets, and you have to wonder, is there a time for them to do that now? Is he mad at
the center position?
I mean, it's yes. Yeah, God, Mitch, make a trade.
That's just good. That's just good sports talk right there.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Thanks again to Nick Carboni for joining us, and unfortunately didn't get to hear from his dog Ollie today. But Nick, discussing there, Washington Wizards get the Charlotte Hornets get another victory over them. And Doug, here we are trying to speak if they're for real or a fraud. And then you see last night, they're able to hold on to victory, kind of like they did against Indiana, but still some mistakes at the end of the game. And Doug, I know you tweeted this out that you thought there were a few differences in the late game mistakes, but still being able to hold on to that victory. What did you think the differences were in this Washington win compared to that Indiana win?
Well, yeah, I think this was a totally different one because, number one, Washington is a better team. I don't know if they're top three in the East good. I think that might settle out as the Bucks and the Hawks and the Celtics try to get it together. I don't know if Washington's going to stay up above. I think they maybe dropped to fourth now with that loss. But this is a good Washington team, and they play really well at home. And so and it wasn't a weird situation where Carlisle, head coach of the Pacers, drops all of his starters out, and you don't scout for that. You don't expect a coach to do that. And so I think that made it difficult on the Hornets against Indiana. But I just thought the overall efforts at the end of that game was there. A couple of shots didn't fall. Cody, unfortunately missed that layup, but they still did manage to hit some shots and made some big plays. I mean, it was Gordon Hayward, wide open three, knocking it down. Then Melo had the and one. We didn't mention that. He finally took it to the rim. I'm waiting for Melo. Like, why does he keep pulling up for these floaters? Number one, the floater isn't all the way locked in, and that's part of the reason why his 2-point percentage is down. And not where it needs to be is because these floaters are not going in very consistently. And I'm just wondering, why isn't he taking it all the way to the rim? Part of me sort of is scared for him to take it to the rim because I don't want an MKG situation where he's just throwing his body all around and getting injured all of the time. But at the same time, there are some moments in the game where you need to put your head down and get a bucket. And I thought he recognized that, got the and one, and that put him up 102-96. And then, of course, next came the dagger shot by Terry Rozier. All around, great effort, I thought, in the fourth quarter, and they did make some mistakes, but I thought it was way different than Indiana, where they were just holding on for dear life. It didn't feel like that.
Right. And here are the Charlotte Hornets, able to get back to 11-8, and there's something to be said for making some mistakes at the end of these games, but still finding a way to win where, look, maybe it is just because you're playing Washington and you're playing Indiana and you don't think those teams are good enough and legit enough to, for that to happen against some of the better teams. But James Borrego talked about it after the game about their maturation, about how they've grown up. That last year, really in that exact same scenario, a close game against Washington, they weren't able to take care of business. They had Russell Westbrook, and I believe that was the time where Russell actually was good Russ towards the second half of the season. First half, Russ was god-awful last year. Second half, everybody was praising him, and then we were changing the narrative on him. But that was one of the times the Hornets played them, and they just flat out lost. That hurt their playoff positioning. Here, a little bit different roster, but also maybe even a better one overall, right? Because of the trade package that you send Russ out for. And here you are just having players develop in different star roles. So not only are they just growing, getting older in the NBA, but they're growing within their new role like a Miles Bridges has, like a LaMelo Ball has. And that's really nice to see and something we've talked about pretty frequently.
And the defense is just so interesting because they have to play small, or at least they're choosing to play small a lot of this game. But props to Nick Richards, who I think had 9 minutes, 7 points, 3 of 4, 3 rebounds, just some good production in the limited time that he was on the floor. But they're playing small a lot, which means they're fronting some of these bigger players. Montrezl Harrell 8 in this game. I didn't see what Gafford ended up with, but it wasn't 8 for 8. This was more of a Montrezl Harrell type of game. But they're having to expend a lot of energy there. But at the same time, they're countering that with being super aggressive on the ball. At one point in this game, all seven of the 8 big rotation players all had 1 steal apiece, and then several players. Ball, I think, ended with 3 steals. Rozier had a couple of steals. Martin had a couple of steals. But to have 7-8 players with a steal, that's really going to help, especially when you're a team that thrives more offensively in the transition game than in the half-court game. It's a weird way to play defense, but they're making it work, sprinkling some junk defense in there. They're getting it done, and we're just, I'm going to be praying at the Thanksgiving table that we get PJ Washington back as soon as possible.
Yeah, like there might be some actual legitimate family problems, and the first prayer is going to be hopefully the Hornets consistently can play defense the rest of the year. That's what we're going to lead off with.
Smidge irreverent, but
yeah, 100%. All right, let's go to the 6th dish of the year, Doug. How do you want to do this? Because I know we had some answers from Twitter. I know you have your nominees. I have mine. How do you want to do this?
Well, I'll get to some of the listeners here in a moment, but let's talk about our 6th man of the year, Thanksgiving edition. I've always talked about sweet potato casserole. It's one of my favorite dishes, but this year, it's just spent so many years coming off the bench and giving us great production that I felt, sometimes teams feel like a guy has been so good that they owe it to the guy to give them a starting position and really have them anchor the team. So this year I'm elevating sweet potato casserole into the starting lineup. And this year's 6th man of the year on my Thanksgiving table is going to be cornbread. And I'm going to get
I like that. It's a good one.
I'm going to get the noise here.
Come on. Give me the fanfare right now. I need it. Fanfare. Doug, come on. Fanfare. Thank you.
All right. Cornbread, my 6th man of the year. If you've never had this, it's the cornbread with the little chunks of corn inside. It's a sweet cornbread, which I know is divisive in a lot of households. I get it. I like a dry cornbread, but on Thanksgiving, I'm all about sweet, salty, mixing it up. I like the popcorn with the Sour Patch Kids. I'm all about that mixture. So cornbread, my 6th man of the year.
Okay, so I've got a couple of nominees, and I don't know if I'm going a little bit too basic, so I've got a couple of different options for you. One that is very unique to our household, but also one that is a staple, but maybe people forget about. Maybe it's just that 12th seed everybody picks to go far in the tournament, so I'm a little scared. But
wow, we're really mixing our mixing our sports radio segments here.
Yeah, we really are. That is the. I'll go with that option first. I just feel like green bean casserole is so damn solid, and it's almost the Lou Williams of Thanksgiving, where he's going to come in and give you production. I think most people like green bean casserole, and most people think about it on Thanksgiving, but nobody's going to put it in your top 4, maybe even your top 5. I think the meat is going to come first, whether you have ham, whether you have turkey. That's certainly going to be in your top 5. Then I think the mashed potatoes. We've talked about the mac and cheese. I just think you're getting to other options before you get to the green bean casserole. That's probably right there outside. Everybody talks about it being underrated, but nobody's going to put it in their lineup. What do you think, Doug? Is green bean casserole a decent option?
Green bean casserole for me is a food that I get that a lot of people like, but I totally don't understand it. I'm trying to think. I think the analogy on this year's Hornets team would be Nick Richards. Like I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I see all of these.
Not Nick Richards.
Well, but I'm just saying, like it's that situation where I don't understand why people are lavishing praise on the green bean casserole because it looks disgusting. And looks, I think should matter somewhat on the Thanksgiving spread. I eat with my eyes, unfortunately. I mean, I want things to look good, look neat. And I think green bean casserole comes down to the Thanksgiving table in some sweatpants. And you know, I shouldn't judge. I've been wearing sweatpants for the past 2 years, but
probably with chicken wing stains on them.
Well, of course. I mean, six pack of wings. That could be a 6th man of the year on my table. Honestly, we don't really do it, but I would.
The Thanksgiving table.
I'd totally be down for some giving wings.
That's right. If you just showed up with a bucket of wings to the Thanksgiving Day table when everybody comes together and joins around the table, I think that'd be a good option. My other option that I was going to put out there, well, I don't know if anybody else does this, and I don't even have a good enough description for it, but we just flat out eat some noodles on Thanksgiving, and they're really good. And I don't know what sauces go into them, but they're just really good plain noodles. And for me, at the household,
so
in which
zero sauces, you're just doing plain noodles.
I don't know. Well, no, like there's something in them. Like I don't know how they're cooked, but they're so good. And I just never ask questions. I really just eat, watch football, and that's pretty much what I do on Thanksgiving. But the noodles are so good, man. And so that's what it would be for me, 6th man of the year.
That's a new one. I really haven't heard of people just doing some straight nudes on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
But you're doing it. I mean, are you Italian? Do you have Italian? Is there some Italian background in your family? Is that why the nudes show up? No,
I don't think.
Nope. Just some straight Anglican nudes.
I shouldn't have mentioned that. That was a mistake. All right, Doug, what are some of the options that Twitter sent into us as the 6th dish of the year?
I got to start with my man Danny on the chat, at Daniel Tapp on Twitter, saying canned cranberry. So he has not listened to this episode yet. He has not listened to this episode yet, so he'll be surprised, or he'll like that Nick Carboni agrees with him. He says, sure, it's processed and it retains the shape of its container. Some would say that's great, Danny. But Danny says, but the residue gets mixed in with other items on the plate and may low-key enhance some of them.
Wow.
So some secret canned cranberry sauce, some canberries. Cody on Twitter says, congrats, Doug Branson LOH, on getting Terry his groove back. You're welcome.
Of course.
Also, sweet potato casserole comes in clutch, an unappreciated dish. I agree, but it's so appreciated in my household now. I've spread the love so much that I've elevated it to starter level. And this can be, I'm not declaring that cornbread should be that America's 6th man. Actually, you know what I am? I'm right about this.
What are we doing then? We are declaring these options that they should be in every household as the 6th dish of the year.
You're right. I take it back. Just like I took back my doubting of Terry Rozier just in time. Tyler says you got to go with gravy, just an unsung hero of Thanksgiving that makes every other food better instantly. Basically, the Lou Williams of Thanksgiving foods.
These people are ahead of the times, man. Like everybody is saying the same thing we are.
But gravy is that's such a great 6th man of the year because it really does come in. You can put it on anything. You can put it in any lineup. It's in any team. You know, Lou Williams has played for 37 teams, and there aren't even that many teams in the NBA.
That's true.
And it comes in and it always scores 20 points. Like gravy never scores under 20 points.
See, I don't know. I think gravy is just your quintessential 100% glue guy. I think he's in the starting lineup because he's the thing that meshes everything together, and you can plug him in any different lineup. You're right about that. I don't know if you need 20 from him. He can give you 20, but he also plays great defense. Straight glue guy is brown gravy, white gravy, whatever kind of gravy you want to go with.
Now, glue guy is mashed potatoes. It's literally food glue. Like you can put it in stuff to hold stuff together. Put it in a little sandwich to make sure that some of the other items that you have in the sandwich stay in the little dinner roll if you want to. It's a literal glue food.
I think
a glued.
I think mashed potatoes has a little bit higher ceiling though than the glue guy gravy. I think that's kind of a staple where maybe there's some situational fits for mashed potatoes. I think brown gravy is more so the glue guy.
Well, I got to read Brayson here on Twitter because I have to because he agrees with you. Green bean casserole.
Excellent.
His sixth man of the year. Thanks to everybody for the tweets. If we get any more on this, I will read them tomorrow. So go to @LockedOnHornets. Let us know who your sixth man of the year on your Thanksgiving table is. It should be cornbread because that should be America's sixth man of the year this year. And Walker, we got a big show coming up tomorrow.
We do. We sure do.
Are we ready to? Should we say it? Should we? I feel like we got to tease it now. We got to tease it now so we can get people to listen.
You're the producer. You are the authority figure within the Locked On Podcast Network. You let me know if we should tease it. Should we go ahead and reveal it, or are we going to keep this a secret again?
I'll reveal it right now, and I'll just say, I don't know. We got this guy. He's so busy right now. I just don't know. We managed to snag him, but we did. He's been a friend of this show for a long time. Eric Collins joining us on Wednesday's show. And we'll get his Thanksgiving sixth man of the year, too.
I was going to say, I want his opinion on Thanksgiving dishes more so than anybody, and I want to see him talk about it emphatically. So tune in tomorrow to possibly catch Eric Collins discuss Thanksgiving in a way that he calls Hornets games. Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen every single day. We have Eric Collins joining us tomorrow. Hopefully you will as well. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel, too. It's on YouTube, just straight up Locked On Hornets. Pretty simple. Make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 daily fantasy basketball show on the entire planet. It's free and it's available on all platforms. We'll see you tomorrow with Eric Collins on the Locked On Hornets podcast.